Hello to Phoenix and welcome to my YouTube channel. This is your girl Catherine Maina. Please call me Kate Mimi. If you've not been to this channel, I am a registered nurse from Kenya in the United Kingdom. I work as a United Kingdom registered nurse. And we do two things on my YouTube channel. We discuss health education and we also talk about matters that really matter to healthcare workers themselves. So there is something that everybody has been asking me about the cost of living in the United Kingdom. Where do I live? Which jobs do I take in what areas? I think we need to talk about that, shall we? Thank you. Hello again, Team Phoenix. I'm sorry that you can see that my flowers and everything is gone. It's because I'm in the middle of moving house. That's what's happening. But I thought it would be nice for us to quickly do this short video so that we can know, as you're going to get jobs as nurses from Kenya, as you're coming in as physiotherapists, as dietitians, as senior care workers, which areas are very expensive and which areas can you be able to at least save? Because let us be honest, nobody leaves Kenya because the wages are great. We all try to come to the United Kingdom. Number one is, of course, to get extra income and to be able to save. So it does not make sense if we are going to live in a city that is going to take almost all of our wages, isn't it? And remember, as a nurse, your starting salary, and I keep telling you people, especially if you're coming to work with the NHS, it's going to be a wee bit lower. So it is nice that you get a city or a town where you can be able to save some percentage of your salary, isn't it? Let's start with the city of London. London is one of the most expensive areas to live in the United Kingdom. But then again, I always make against for. I always make a case for London as opposed to against London. Now, listen, London could be expensive, but then again, there are areas that are quite affordable. Look at Southwest London, for example. I know many people say it is ghetto-ish or something like that. It's fine, let people say what they are saying, but Southwest London is one of the areas where you can comfortably live. Now, the other good thing about London is that they usually have high cost allowance money. So that means where you would get 25,000 or 24,000, actually it's usually 24,000 as a band 5 nurse, entry level, you get an extra 5,000, as a band 5. So you get 29,000. And that translates into around 1,700 per month or 1,600 if I'm not wrong. And then even if you do your enhancements, that is, you do extra hours. For example, you do nights, you do bank holidays, or even, all these extra, extra jobs, maybe on the bank shift, you can easily get your money. You can get to 2,000 or something like that. And this way, you're going to be able to save. The other town, it is still in London. Milton Keynes is very expensive. Bath is expensive. Kent is expensive, and I will not lie to you people. Now, the problem with Kent is that they do not have the advantage of London, where London you get an extra 5,000 because of the high cost of living. You don't get that in Kent. So for every agency that is directing people to Kent, please tell them the truth. Kent is one of the most expensive places to actually live in the United Kingdom. And the other thing that you need to consider is actually housing. So if your employer is going to house you, for example, for say 3 months, then you're good to go. But if your house is going to cost you around 600, 700, and it's maybe 1 bedroom, you maybe want to think twice about that area. Always go to www.rightmove.co.uk. You can also check on CityLets. You can check on Gumtree. You can check on Zoopla. All these are property letting agencies. When you check the cost of 1 bedroom, for example, or 1 flat, 2 bedroom share or a studio in the area that you have gotten a job. And please try and compare. I will still insist, Manze, if you're getting a job that is paying you around 1,500, you do not want to spend more than 550 on rent alone. And remember, it is not just rent in the United Kingdom. Rent is one thing. For example, now I can say, I can talk about this. The flat I've been living in Edinburgh, I was paying 610 pounds, and that is just for the rent. Then you need to include council tax bills. You need to include my gas and electricity. You need to include my broadband because Wi-Fi does not come free. You need to include things like my SIM card because here you get a SIM contract. So at the end of the day, you find that I was not just paying 610. I was actually paying more than that. Honestly, I have no idea how I've survived all this time. I really don't know. So think about that when you're coming over. The other area is actually Cambridge. Cambridge is expensive, ladies and gentlemen. Cambridge is very expensive. Cambridge or Cambridge, depending on who taught you English, as well as Oxford. And these two areas, in as much as they are expensive, they do not have the advantage of London, where you can get high cost allowance. You know, they do not have it. So you may want to rethink your decision to go to Cambridge because of the name, you know, the reputation, and also Oxford because of the reputation. Please think about it. So those are some of the areas I would be very careful to tell you about, and you need to really think and think hard before you take up jobs just because a place is, you know, that a place has a good reputation. There are some areas though where you can actually live comfortably, and I would want to start with Stoke-on-Trent. Stoke is very affordable. So if you're looking for a job, think about Stoke-on-Trent, think about Liverpool, think about Plymouth, think about Portsmouth, also think about Manchester, you know, the wider Manchester area. You also want to think about places like Derby. Please give Derby a shot. Coventry is also a very nice place you can comfortably live in. If you're thinking about Scotland, I would say Edinburgh, because I've lived here, is actually more expensive than Glasgow. So you may want to consider Glasgow more than Edinburgh. And other areas in England where you can live in is actually Sheffield. You can think about Newcastle upon Tyne. You can think about Blackpool. You can think about Exeter, Norwich. All these areas are quite affordable. Southampton, Sunderland, these areas are good for you. Now, there is always a bone of contention, because you might tell me, oh, Southampton, actually, Catherine, is very expensive. But this is the thing. It depends with the area. Even in Exeter, there is an area which is actually very expensive. So you just need to know where is the hospital where you've gotten the job. And if this is where the hospital is, which affordable areas are around the hospital, okay? You need to think about that. The other option that you have as a nurse actually is when you come over here, you would need to get a, you know, start your driving license, get a car, and live away from the city. It is always cheaper that way, to be sincere. Live somewhere away from the city, you come and work in the city. That way you end up saving a lot more. Cars in the United Kingdom are very cheap. To be very, very, very honest with you, cars are very cheap. It depends with what make and model do you want. Do you want automatic? Do you want manual? The other thing is, do you want an SUV, or do you just want to get from point A to point B? I've seen cars as cheap as £200. £200 is pocket change, okay? That is just very, 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 very cheap. So get a car as soon as maybe a year after you've settled down, if you don't have so many things to do, and then get away from the city. Work in the city, yes, but stay away from the city. That way you're going to get cheaper rent, you know, cheaper rent in other areas that are not in the city, and you'll be able to save, okay? Those are some of the things that I would say. Okay, Team Phoenix, the other thing that I would want to add is that Wolverhampton is very affordable. Leeds is affordable. And Brighton as well, Bristol. Those are very affordable areas. Please do consider them. Swindon is a good place to consider. The Midlands, when you talk about the Midlands, we have West Midlands, for example, Birmingham. We have North Midlands like Nottingham. So these are places that you may want to consider. So York is another place that you can also give a shot. They are quite affordable, and not only affordable, you have a cosmopolitan area. The other thing is that you also need to consider Bournemouth, and is it Bournemouth or Bournemouth? Okay, Bournemouth, Bournemouth, Bournemouth. Okay, that one. You need to consider that, as well as Peterborough. These are places that you can comfortably live with your family. Newcastle as well is a place that you can consider. So I know I cannot list all the cities in England or Scotland for that matter. I cannot list them all. Sawa sawa. So you give it a shot. I know I have listed a few of them. Give them a shot, really. Finally, as I'm coming to the close of this video, because I need to finish packing, as I'm coming to the close of this video, is about children. Let's talk about children. So, Catherine, how will it be possible for me to move from Kenya with my son or my daughter? And my answer is, it is not easy. It is not easy because United Kingdom takes particular keen interest in children. Any child under the age of 16 years cannot be left alone. So you cannot tell me that you'll come with your son or your daughter and then you're going to leave them in the house as you go for work. Manze, you're going to be called by the social services and you're going to have a case to answer. And ignorance is no defense. So in as much as you're coming over with your children, please have a plan. Who is going to take care of them when you're gone? Remember, the shifts in the United Kingdom are sometimes so crazy. They can be as crazy as long as 12 hours. So you want to be very sure that there is somebody taking care of your child. And that is one of the reasons why I was telling you, please do come to an area where there are other Africans. Why? Because our culture sometimes is the same. Whether you come from Nigeria, Ghana, South Africa, Zimbabwe, Zambia, Kenya, we do take care of each other's children. So what I've been seeing my friends do is actually pulling resources together. So you want to live in an area where Catherine is, and there is Jane, there is Milka somewhere. You want us to live together, in the same area, such that when Milka is working, Catherine or Jane can take care of the kid. Do you understand where I'm coming from? You want to live in an area where people can actually help you look after your children. So that calls onto you to have this amazing personality where you make friends and you realize that we are all here trying to make it. When you go for night shift, you want maybe to leave me with your kid or leave somebody else with your kid. And that is why I'm saying it is very hard for you to leave them with our British compatriots or people of European descent, because they do not have that in their culture, that they can take care of each other's children. But I know we do that. So that is one of the things that you might want to consider. The other thing you might want to do is actually invite one of your relatives to come over on a visit visa, but do not indicate when you're applying that you're asking them to come and look after your child. It is just not going to happen. So if they come in as a visitor, they can help you look after your kid maybe for a month or two or whatever, or whatever duration of time you will have agreed upon. Though I have had very sad stories about relatives who come under that arrangement and then they go and tell the police that you're giving them, forced labor or things like that, and you're put on the spot, and it is so difficult to extricate yourself from such a situation. So if not, you can always hire nannies. Nannies for hire are always available. I know and I appreciate the fact that they are quite expensive, because I know it is not an easy job. But those are just some of the ideas I would give you. So yes, you can come with your children. What I've been seeing my friends do is actually wait until they have their PIN, that is their, their OSCE, after their OSCE, that is the exam that we talked about, remember? So after their OSCE exam, I have been seeing my friends wait until they get their PIN, that is, they become fully registered nurses, and then they can go in. They can organize for somebody to bring their children over. But if umejipanga, if you have a plan, yeah, that's what it means. If you have a plan, if you have somebody whom you can come with, maybe a partner, maybe you have your husband, it's easy, or your wife for that matter, it's easy, because you guys can come together, and when one is working, the other one can be taking care of the child. So thank you, everybody. It has been lovely doing this video today. I just want you to know the areas. Please pay attention to what I've said. Pay attention to these areas which are expensive and the ones which are not expensive. Remember that you can always make it. In London especially, I told you, if there is an opportunity for you to make extra cash, then it is London, because you have the allowances that are there. And there are also very many hospitals. There are so many units, you can do private agency work as a nurse. So that is basically what is happening in London, okay? So thank you for watching. And I'm very happy to be saying goodbye to Edinburgh, and see you guys in London or wherever else you guys will choose to come. Sindio? So see ya. Toodles!